Okay, let's do this. Hello out there. We're back. We're on the air. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Very happy Monday today. Are we live? I don't know. Everything's laggy today. Let's make sure we are here. Looks like it. It appears as though we're live. And what about Zap.stream? How are we doing there? We got 3 viewers there. Crypto Heathen is over there. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, we got a good show in store today. 2 shows, actually. Okay, where do I begin? I've been gone for where was I? I missed 3 days last week. I was on the road. We were traveling. We were in Saskatchewan, and then we were in the US of A. So Arnie had his very first trip to the US. He's only 4 months old, and he's already touched ground in the US of A. Letha's over in the Zap.stream chat. Good morning. It was beautiful there. We had an amazing weekend. Long, pretty tired today. Got home yesterday afternoon and then did our golf show for the first time on Sunday nights. So she's been a ride, but we're here. Got to play some golf in Minot, and probably one of the coolest experiences I've had in a while on the golf course. So anyways, I'm going to be talking about that later, but for now, this is the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This is actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. I feel like I'm missing something here. I don't know. My camera's on, my microphone's on. Hopefully everything's okay. Johnny, good morning, my friend. Let's do this. BTC Backpacker, good morning, beautiful people. It is Monday, fun day. And Francis, good morning. Looks like people are starting to show up. Maybe people forgot that I did a show after taking a little hiatus from it. Didn't miss much though. I think we got down to what, $57,000? Everybody's freaking out. Everybody's panicking. And then all of a sudden last night, it's $64,000 again. So you just got to tune out the bullshit. And that's what we're here for. Oh, we're offline. What happened here? This isn't a good start, Zap.stream. Why did it end? Why did it end? Let's just troubleshoot here real quickly. Probably out of sats. Huh, what the heck? Stream? No, it's not. I don't know why that stopped. Don't love that. Anyways, let's carry on here. Sorry about that, Zap.stream. We're actually going to be doing a show right after this on Zap.stream, so I'm a little bit worried about that. I don't know what happened there. Anyways, let's try this again here. Okay, let's cut that. I'm just going to try adding it here. It might work. It might not work. Will it work? Yep. Okay. We're back on Zap.stream. I have no idea what happened there. Sorry about that, everybody that was in there. But it looks like we're back. So there we go. It was acting kind of funny last night too when we were doing our golf show. So I don't know. Hopefully everything's okay there. Sachi, good morning, my friend. Okay, let's get to the business here. So I guess before we get started, I should give a little bit of announcement here. We're changing the dynamic of the show slightly. And so what we're going to be doing now is every morning, I'm going to be doing the show, obviously still, but I'm going to start doing the main show here on YouTube, and then I'm either going to jump over to the Living in the Future Patreon show to dive a little bit deeper into things, different topics, more business stuff, more business ideas, that kind of stuff. If you've been following the show at all, you know what that's all about. So we're either going to jump over there, or I'm going to do a new golf show. So that's going to be starting today exclusively on Zap.stream. And I don't think everybody in here golfs, so this isn't really applicable to everybody here. But kind of the idea there is that I was watching Odell and the creator of Zap.stream, Kieran, and they were kind of talking about how it's mostly Bitcoiners and gamers on Zap.stream. And so I've been kind of wanting to do a slightly different variation of this show, but focused on golf. And so I'm going to start doing that after every show. So even if you're not a golfer, I don't know, I wouldn't really look too far into it, but consider checking it out. So that's going to be on Zap.stream every morning after the show, exclusively on Zap.stream. So I really want to be, I've been talking about using the different tools that we have available for Bitcoin and for freedom tech stuff. And so I want to start actually implementing some of that. So that's my plan. It's going to be very focused on like the mental side of golf. And I really want to take like a 5-year time horizon on it. And just without changing anything in the golf swing, just thinking differently. And I think whether you apply that to golf or any other aspect of life, I think if you change the way you look at it up here, your perspective and mentally, you can improve so much without spending any money or doing a whole bunch of different things. So that's the plan for today. Letha, okay, we're back. Yeah, sorry about that, Zap.stream. And Daniel just zapped 420 sats back from vacation boost. So he's back in North America here from his trip to Vienna, I think it was. So hopefully that went well. Heading to Europe in about a month and a half now. So I'm looking forward to that. King, good morning, my friend. Hope you had a great weekend as well. Went hiking. I went hiking too. I just carried some golf clubs with me. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about today, and you'll notice I named the show Come and Get It. I think I even got that wrong. This was based on Senator Cynthia Loomis. She had a tweet last week. She might have said Come and Take It though. But anyways, I like Come and Get It better. We're going to be talking about a lot of good things happening in Bitcoin. And then we're going to be talking about some actionable things that we can be doing today in case they try to come after your Bitcoin. So let's, yes, Daniel says one of my favorite books in golf, or is golf, is not a game of perfect. I love that book. That book and this one, Zen Golf, Mastering the Mental Game. So that's kind of what the golf show is going to be focused on more, like golf is not a game of perfect, Zen Golf, these kind of ideas. I just think that it's lacking in the golf space. And I want to find a way to move people from golf into the Zap.streams into Bitcoin. It's kind of what we've been doing for a couple of years now with the 88 Sats project and then the Bitcoin Golf Tour this summer. And Crypto Ethan says, in most physical endeavors, mindset is everything. I couldn't agree more with that. Could not agree more with that. So the big news today or yesterday, whenever it was, is that we hit 1 billion with a B, 1 billion transactions in Bitcoin. I'm going to see if I can find it on here because that would be on what? What would that be on? Clark Moody dashboard. It might be on there. Let's try that. I think it should be on here. Transactions. I don't know. I saw it somewhere. It looked pretty legitimate. I'm sure if I had 30 seconds to look at this without being live on the internet, I could find it. But anyways, we've hit 1 billion total transactions on the Bitcoin network. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of transactions. And for guys like Peter Schiff and others who say that Bitcoin has no value, well, did this stream end again? This isn't what you want to see on your first day of exclusively streaming on Zap.stream. Anyways, we'll troubleshoot. Not live though. So 1 billion transactions, pretty impressive. The adoption of Bitcoin, the use of Bitcoin continues to grow, and the supply of Bitcoin continues to go down. So pretty good economic formula if you understand the ins and outs of that world. But let's get to the metrics here today. See what we got going on. Sorry, Zap.stream. Sorry, everybody who's in there. That kind of pisses me off. But anyways, we can't control it, so we're not going to worry too much about it. We got currently block height 842. 335. And if you're transacting on the Bitcoin Layer 1 network, you're paying only 22 sats per VByte. So this is the average, I would say. And maybe I'll just bring this up quickly here while we're talking about it. A really good resource that you can use if you are sending Bitcoin is the feemultiple.bullbitcoin.com. So this shows two different averages for the last year and the last month. So you can see for the last month, obviously it's extremely low because we had some very high fees. But even zooming out for the year, transaction fees are pretty low right now, average to low. So that's what you want. It says 26 sats per VByte on here, but if we look at mempool, it's 22. So either way, pretty low. Good day to be transacting on Bitcoin if you need to. Keep adding to that 1 billion Bitcoin transactions. The price today of Bitcoin. We got to zoom in a little bit here so you can see it. The price today is $63,505 US. 1 year ago today, you could have purchased one Bitcoin for $28,907 US. And 4 years ago, $9,222 US for one Bitcoin. The Moscow time today, which is the equivalent of $1 US, how much Bitcoin that'll get you? 1,573 sats. And I know that this Canadian number is wrong, so let's fix this. But the price today in Canada is 86,884 Canadian dollars. And if I want to see the sats here, the Moose Jaw time, 11:48. So there you go. For one loonie, you can get 1,148 sats. So there you go. There is the metrics today. Once again, apologize to zap.stream, the people that were in there. But here we are. We're on YouTube, and we're going to keep going. So one thing I did want to talk about, and this is kind of how I wanted to start the show today. This was a quote. And this quote's from a guy named Corey2140. And that name sounds very familiar to me. And I feel like we've said a quote from him before. I think the last one was a little bit longer than this. But here's the quote from Corey2140. And the quote is, I'll say it simply. Everyone without Bitcoin is utterly fucked. I'll say it simply. Everyone without Bitcoin is utterly fucked. And so the last couple of days, we've seen the price go down. We dropped to 57,000 and everybody lost their minds. Mainstream news is going crazy. Bitcoin's dead. We see it so often here. And the sad thing about that is when that happens, there's always the talking heads that come out. They bring on these people who have no idea what they're talking about, who haven't spent any sort of time in Bitcoin. And they start finding reasons why Bitcoin won't work. That's when people are willing to listen to it. When the price of Bitcoin is going down, that's when people's ears are open to hearing why Bitcoin's going to die. So with all the noise going on, it's pretty funny to see it rebounded so quickly, $64,000 this morning. But I want to talk about a few things here. And, you know, aside from the price, which we talk about every day on here, but it's completely irrelevant. But there's a bunch of things going on in Bitcoin right now. And I'm going to bring up a little graphic here just to show a few of them. Okay, so let's go to once again, I apologize for being a little bit scrambly, but it is Monday morning. Always a little rusty, especially after like a whole week off of the show here. And Zap.stream giving me some issues. But so here we go. This is from Vivek for real. What the heck? Okay. Let's try this. So there we go. This is a few latest happenings in Bitcoin and just kind of like a zoom out on it. And so we got the public companies, Block, $43 billion. They announced over the weekend or last week, whenever it was, that they're going to be DCAing into Bitcoin. So they're going to be taking 10% of their monthly gross profits and putting it into Bitcoin. And you hear 10%, which is a pretty big number, honestly, for a public company to be buying Bitcoin with. But then you look at the gross part of that. So if you think about it, let's say that Block makes a shitload of money, by the way. They're worth 43 billion. They're worth more than MicroStrategy. But so the 10% of their gross profits every month, let's say they make $1 million a month. And I mean, 10%, you'd think if somebody's buying Bitcoin at a set rate like that, you'd think that they would probably buy the net after they factor in taxes, after they pay all their costs, after they, but so net, if they took 10% of net, that amount would be much smaller than it would be. But with gross, 10% of their gross profits is going into Bitcoin every month for a $43 billion company. That's a pretty big deal. And every single month they're going to be buying Bitcoin, DCAing into Bitcoin, buying more Bitcoin. So you got Block there, you got MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor did a full presentation to the corporate world last week on why they should be holding Bitcoin. He bought Bitcoin last week. He introduced the new Bitcoin email addresses. Arnie's having a good time. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but he's squeaking. The Bitcoin verifiable email addresses. That's what Michael Saylor introduced last week. So MicroStrategy is buying Bitcoin. They're holding Bitcoin. They're telling other people to buy Bitcoin. And they're coming out with new products and services that complement their business that involve Bitcoin. And then you have the ETF issuers, BlackRock, Fidelity, and then the Hong Kong ETF as well. Private companies buying Bitcoin, Tether. Or is this the amount of Bitcoin that they have? No, that can't be right. Anyways, doesn't matter. Either way. Tether, $50 billion. I don't think that that's in Bitcoin. I think that I saw that they're holding $4 billion worth of Bitcoin. But then you have nation states, El Salvador, and more to come. And if you look at the adoption happening in Costa Rica right now, which is the next thing we're going to touch on here, but they're all buying millions to billions worth of Bitcoin every month. And it says, are you paying attention? So that's why I wanted to start the show with that quote. I'll say it simply. Everyone without Bitcoin is utterly fucked. And it's the truth. People, for the most part, this is your average person. They hear things on the news. Even though they don't fully trust the news, they hear things kind of just by accident almost. Even if people don't watch the news, they see these different headlines, they hear about things, and they hear all about how bad Bitcoin is and how, it's just this fake Ponzi scheme bullshit without spending 1 second actually looking into it. But then that's the average person. So they're either fearful of it, they don't understand it, they don't have the time to learn about it. And so they're going to continue ignoring Bitcoin and continue holding whatever assets they have right now, ignoring Bitcoin, while all of this is happening behind the scenes. And if they just looked at it, this isn't like hidden anywhere. This is right out in the open. People just don't take the time to look at this kind of stuff. But it just seems to me like we're in this very small window right now where all this is happening. We're running out of Bitcoin. The miners are short Bitcoin right now because of the halving last week. And I just think that any day now, we're going to see a massive spike in Bitcoin. So that's that. There's also, I saw a couple other things here that I thought was worth talking about. BlackRock, they held similar to MicroStrategy, they had a little conference, and I'll bring it up here on the screen so you can see it. It's a video. Where is it? Just a very short clip here, but I thought it was worth looking at. Just a second. Just a second. Okay, that's one I want to look at too. Okay, here it is. Holy. So this says BlackRock holds an institutional digital assets summit to promote their Bitcoin ETF IBIT. So this is a summit or a conference that BlackRock held, probably with some of their biggest clients, telling them why they should be buying the Bitcoin ETF. So let's watch this. There's not a whole lot that happens. I think it's just cool. You'll recognize a few faces on here, I think. There you go. That was pretty fun. First of all, fuck BlackRock. But second of all, lots happening there. Lots to think about there in terms of exactly what's happening here. Because these ETFs were approved in January this year, January 2024. And since that day, Bitcoin will never fail. Since that happened, Bitcoin will never fail. It's impossible at this point. Impossible. But that's one aspect of it. You have to also think about the fact that with these institutions like BlackRock, the ETF was approved. They probably did some sort of education to their clients leading up to that. But when it's a couple months later and they're holding their first kind of summit in terms of asking people to show up, their clients, and telling them how good Bitcoin is, you see guys like Troy Cross on there. I forget the other guy's name on there. Gladstein, Alex Gladstein, maybe. Anyways, it's a big deal. So there's a delay there between the approval and then the actual BlackRock employees learning what Bitcoin is, and then BlackRock putting on things like this, and their clients talking, or their salespeople talking to clients about it, them hosting things like this. It takes time for these people to really understand what's happening here. And BlackRock, whether you like them or not, I don't personally, but I have no control over them buying as much Bitcoin as they can. But they have a lot of capital there, a lot of clients with a lot of money, and they're putting on things like this. Michael Saylor did something very similar to this last week. He was talking to corporations about Bitcoin and why they should be holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And also Jack Dorsey of Block said that they're buying 10% every month of their gross profits into Bitcoin. And he also came out with a tweet or a post, whatever it was. Block actually made a little article explaining how corporations should be thinking about Bitcoin and how they can start holding Bitcoin on their own. So BlackRock, MicroStrategy, and Block, all within 1 week, finding ways to get in front of their clients and other potential corporations, sharing information about Bitcoin. It's pretty big. Pretty big. So let's take 1 second here and catch up on the YouTube chat. Crypto Heathen says, read quite a bit more software over the weekend. It's completely changed my perspective on Bitcoin. The monetary use case of it was the Trojan horse to drive adoption with the people. But what we're witnessing is a complete restructuring of the internet using Bitcoin as a security protocol. Bingo. And Saylor confirmed that with the email thing. Yeah, honestly, I didn't want to talk about the email thing today because I haven't had a chance to watch his presentation yet. I've been talking about it on the show for quite a while in terms of how Saylor's going to be using Lightning, email, connecting Bitcoin. And that's why I thought it was a very good investment to buy MicroStrategy, because he's not only going to be buying and holding Bitcoin, but he's going to be earning Bitcoin for MicroStrategy. So I did see that they were taking a lot of shit on Nostr and a few different other places in terms of the verification there. I had a different perspective and a different outlook than a lot of people did, including Odell. I didn't agree with what he said there, but I also haven't had a chance to fully understand what's happening here. And so I don't want to comment on that. I'm going to watch some of Michael Saylor's stuff later today, and then maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow on the show. But that's kind of what I wanted to say on that, is that just from very high level listening, watching what was happening there, I disagree with what some of the more famous or well-known Bitcoin influencers were saying. And, you know, I love Odell. I love Odell. I watch every one of their shows. He's the person I look to most in Bitcoin, but I just think that he's looking, and I could be wrong here. I could be wrong here too, but I just think that he's seeing everything through a lens of how much he dislikes Michael Saylor, because he's failing to contribute to open source development within Bitcoin. And Odell's kind of on the exact opposite end of that. He has a foundation or a charity, I guess, whatever it is in the States, a charity called OpenSats, where they send 100% of their contributions to open source development of Bitcoin. And we know that Michael Saylor doesn't agree with that. He wants to keep Bitcoin exactly how it is. And so I just think that Odell is looking at it the wrong way. And from my thinking on it, like I said, I have to dive further into this to fully understand what's going on here. But I do think that there'll be ways to verify an email address by funding a Lightning address with Bitcoin without it connecting to you personally. But I could be wrong. And like I said, I do need to look further into it before fully commenting on it. But that's kind of what I gathered from it. Rick says, I'm late, but I smashed the like. There you go, buddy. Thank you. GTR Barbarian, welcome. ETFs combined own 800,000 plus coins. And like Kathy Wood says, the wirehouses aren't even in full swing yet. So I agree. The chances of Bitcoin is zero are 0.001%. If that. Bitcoin won't fail now. And kind of the point of today's show is to let you know two things. If you're here now, you're in a very good place, because all of these people are catching up right now. The whole world's catching up to Bitcoin right now. If you're here, you're in a very good place. But at the same time, even though Bitcoin is not going to fail, they're going to do everything that they can to either take it from you or KYC you and attach it to you and use that against you. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today in terms of the title here and the overall what's happening in Bitcoin right now. So with that, I want to show another video here quickly. You guys are going to like this one. Mostly just because of the music. I was really enjoying this morning while I was looking at it. So when you miss 3 days of shows and then it's the weekend, I had about 5 or 6 days to catch up on Bitcoin news. But I did my best. I couldn't get everything in, obviously, but I did my best here. So here's the video that I'm going to show. Like I talked about, we have the public companies, we have the ETFs, we have the big institutions, and we have the countries. So El Salvador was on that list, but I want to show you here Costa Rica. I want to show you what's happening in Costa Rica here. And this was from Francis, the creator of Bull Bitcoin. He shared this. I think he lives in Costa Rica now. But this is a map of all the businesses in Costa Rica that are accepting Bitcoin. And so here you go. I'm not going to play it all, but you're going to get the point pretty fast here, I think. And you're going to enjoy the music. Son of a gun. No sound. Okay. I just want you to hear the sound. I won't play the whole thing here. But I don't know what happened there. Everything's acting up here this morning. Okay, let's share it again. Just quickly. I just want you to hear the Adrian said is the music Braille music. Yeah. I definitely I shouldn't have pumped it up as much as I did and then had no sound there. I'm sorry. I'll just play 10 seconds of the music just so you know what I'm talking about. I was very soothed listening to this while you guys were in the dark, in the silence.
Soy tico porque llevo a Costa Rica en la central.
Did that work? I don't know. I give up. Some days things work and some days things don't work. And what's the quote from Trailer Park Boys? Some days she goes, sometimes she doesn't go, but that's just the way she goes. Something like that. Okay, you heard the music there? There you go. It was beautiful music. So that's Costa Rica. Very cool. Very, very cool. That's the number of merchants accepting Bitcoin across Costa Rica. That's very impressive. Like, that was a lot of businesses there, probably close to 500 businesses in Costa Rica in such a small geographic location there. That's incredible. I mean, based on the map there, it seems like more businesses were accepting Bitcoin than not. I don't know how many businesses would be there, but it seemed like on every street, every block, there was one business accepting Bitcoin. So that's very cool. And I don't know, we don't hear too much about Costa Rica, but maybe that's a place where Bitcoiners will kind of flock to in the future if things continue here in North America as they have been in peak insane times here. So I think my parents are going to Costa Rica either later this year or early next year. So maybe I'll hop on a plane and go check it out and do a live on location in Costa Rica, trying to buy things with Bitcoin. Pretty cool though. I don't think enough people are talking about how big of an impact Bitcoin's having in countries like Costa Rica and El Salvador, obviously. But there's a lot of countries like Costa Rica who are fully embracing Bitcoin without anybody's permission of doing it. A lot of these countries were fully controlled by the IMF, the extortionists of the world, and exploiting them for their resources, making them use the dollar. And they're just kind of giving them a big GFY and just taking Bitcoin. They don't need anybody's permission to do it. They don't need a bank account. They don't need to worry about all the bullshit of exchange rates with tourism. Like, think about that. I know a lot of places like Costa Rica, like Mexico, all of these places like the US dollar because it's a lot more stable than their currency. But it's such a pain in the ass for them to have to convert that all the time. And especially when they're sending money around and to other parts of the world, Bitcoin's just so easy to deal with. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people are sleeping on right now. So that's, I wanted to share that with you because I thought that was very cool. So what's the next one? And this was the last one I wanted to show. I did have some other videos, but maybe I'll save that for tomorrow because we're kind of running late here a little bit. So this Bitcoin news segment, by the way, is sponsored by Bitcoin News. And I wanted to share something that they got going on today. I think it is. No, sorry. This was from last week. This was a recording that I started listening to. But if you go to Bitcoin News's Twitter feed, you can watch a show about peer-to-peer communication. So I got into just a little bit of it, but I'm going to listen to it either today or tomorrow. But if you go to Bitcoin News Twitter feed, there's the latest live video that they did was talking about peer-to-peer. I think it's called pair-to-pair, actually, like the fruit, the pear, peer-to-peer communication tools. So that's something I'm very interested in, especially with our Living in the Future group. I want to have some sort of group chat that's a lot more private than we have it now. It's on Signal, which is, I think, fairly private, but it's always better to support this kind of stuff as it comes. So I'm going to be listening to that peer-to-peer communications by pair-to-pair, I think they're called. But this is another reason why, if you don't own Bitcoin, you're utterly fucked. This is NASDAQ listed coal miner Alliance Resource Partners successfully ventures into Bitcoin, mining 425 Bitcoin using excess energy. Think about that. Think about how cool that is. You have industries like coal, like oil, like potash probably will be doing the same. All of these very energy intensive industries like this, they're not always running. Whether there's a lot of factors that are out of their control in terms of when they can be working, when they can be mining, when they can be digging, all that kind of stuff. There's so many factors involved there, but they still have all the infrastructure in place there. They still have all the equipment already there. And before Bitcoin, when they were shut down, they just sat there. But now with Bitcoin, they can actually use that equipment, use those resources, use that capital, that infrastructure that's already there, and they can flip on a switch and start mining Bitcoin. So NASDAQ, a public company called Alliance Resource Partners, successfully ventured into Bitcoin, mining 425 Bitcoin using excess energy. So this is one example of this. If you don't think that every coal company on earth is going to be doing this exact same thing, using this blueprint that Alliance Resource Partners has come up with, you're crazy, right? So that was pretty cool. I wanted to share that as well. So we got all these reasons here. The price dropped a little bit. We got all these reasons. It's kind of been flatlining for a while, but there's just so much happening right now in Bitcoin. And probably the moral of the story right now is that you are running out of time. We are running out of time. The little guy is running out of time because all these companies, all these countries, all these big institutions are coming and they're going to be buying Bitcoin, and they're not going to stop buying Bitcoin. Once they have the taste for it, once they have the Bitcoin bug, once they figure out what's really going on here, they're always going to be buying, like Block, 10% gross profits every month, and they're probably never going to sell the Bitcoin. So we are running out of time. We're always going to be able to buy Bitcoin. We're always going to be able to earn Bitcoin, but we're never going to get Bitcoin for the amount that we can get it for right now. So something to think about there. I think that most people in this chat are probably fairly well maxed out in terms of their Bitcoin, but at the same time, you got to be building as much as you can right now, building businesses that earn Bitcoin instead of focusing too much on just buying Bitcoin and figuring out how much you can convert your fiat into Bitcoin. Start earning Bitcoin. That's the best way to do it. Bodie is in the house. Good morning. Rock and roll. Francis is incredible too. I'm a big fan of Francis from Bull Bitcoin. Adrian says, fiat in Costa Rica is called the colon. You're welcome to go and get it. Yeah, no doubt. GTR Barbarian says, is that Luke M Bitcoin News? Yes, it is. I think that's their YouTube guy for Bitcoin News, Luke M. Carl, good morning. Good to see you. So let's talk about this then. I'm just going to make sure that I didn't miss anything very important in terms of news today. But I want to, no, that's not it. Oh, there's a video of a guy buying a poncho in Peru with Bitcoin. Pretty funny video, but we don't need to watch it. I think we get the point for that. Everybody's taking Bitcoin. Everybody wants Bitcoin. Oh, here it is. I want to show this one. So this is a video. I thought it was old, but it looks like it just happened. This was a gold versus Bitcoin debate with Eric Vuers and Peter Schiff. And so he's talking about the fact that back in 2013, when Peter Schiff was bashing Bitcoin, Bitcoin essentially had to prove itself in 2013. It was only a couple years old, and Bitcoin still was having to prove itself to prove the fact that people are actually going to use this and value this currency. But he says, like 10 years later now, 2024, it's very obvious that people see value in Bitcoin. We hit a billion transactions over the weekend in Bitcoin. And I just love how well spoken this guy is. So I wanted to share this clip, and then we'll talk about something else. But this is a 2-minute clip. I think very, very well spoken. This Eric Voers. So hopefully the sound works here. I'm going to take it off of there, actually. Remove. StreamYard's great, but you have to kind of use different things here if you're wanting to use audio. So let's watch this. Hopefully this works. Let me know soon if the sound's not working.
30 seconds of his time
Got
to
it.
you.
Okay.
And we want to hear it. So
Okay. First of all, a world in which gold was the money again would be a superior world to the status quo. I'll grant that. My primary concern is that the world has money that is derived out of market processes rather than out of coercive centralization of the state. The latter is extremely an un-American and dangerous plague that has existed now since at least 1971, when the dollar became a fiat currency. Anything that moves the world away from centralized control of money to market-based control of money is something that I would be in favor of. Peter, I will praise you if you can get the world to accept gold again as a form of normal money. That would be great. There are some other of us who don't wish to wait around for that, and we actually think a decentralized form of money that you can send in a digital world has value. And back in 2011, 2012, 2013, when we had our first debate, I understand that like the burden of proof was on us. We had to argue that it was a currency or that it was a money. We had to make those statements because there's no reason for anyone to believe us back then. But it's 2024, and this is a $1.2 trillion asset, one of the most liquid assets in the world, one of the top 10 assets in the entire world by market cap. I don't need to keep making the case that Bitcoin is something. The world believes it's something. You can see why if you ever go try to send a transaction internationally with a bank and you do it with Bitcoin on your phone, anyone who's done those two things will see the value immediately. And I don't have to like defend it much, right? It's just growing and it's an option. There's no Bitcoiner that would force either of you to ever use it. And if you want to stay in the traditional financial system, go down with the Titanic, go for it. Many of us are choosing an alternative.
I'm on the Voorhees life raft, just so you know.
Well, I'm not going down with the ship.
Very well said. There's nothing to prove anymore. There's nothing to prove. There's things to worry about in terms of centralization, how Bitcoin could possibly go wrong if we're not careful with it. But there's nothing to prove anymore in terms of, does Bitcoin have use case? As he said there, if you try sending money across the world using our traditional rails, and then you get somebody to use Bitcoin by downloading an app on their phone, loading with Bitcoin, sending it, whether you're using layer 1 or layer 2, it's still 1,000 times better than the traditional rails that we use now. So when that happens, humans always flock towards efficiency. They flock towards things that actually make sense. And it's really just a matter of time when people figure that out. The shitty thing is that all of these institutions, like we've been talking about the whole day or the whole show today, the BlackRocks, the MicroStrategies, the blocks, they're going to be bringing in the institutional money. When that money shows up, the price is going to go crazy. And by that point, the people out there like you and like me, they're not going to get a whole lot of sats for that anymore, which is pretty sad. And I mean, we can only stand here and scream so long without running out of breath, essentially. So that's the sad thing for me, is that we are running out of time. I think the average person is going to miss out on Bitcoin just because they're so stubborn and they don't have enough time. That's the thing about kind of the situation we're in right now. The fiat world, the people who are still living in the fiat world, they go to work every day. They're working their asses off just to survive. Just to survive. When they get home, they're tired. They turn on Netflix. They want to numb their mind for the night. They don't have time to be exploring this stuff because they're exhausted from the fiat system. It's wearing them down. They don't have any extra time to be looking into Bitcoin. And so what's going to happen here, I think this is my prediction for the year, and I've been saying this for a while now, but we're going to see all this institutional money, all these countries are going to get into Bitcoin. It's going to scream up here. It's going to slowly keep going up over the summer. It's going to shoot up in the fall. And by that time, that's when people will start opening their minds and opening their ears to it. And it'll be too late at that point. I mean, not too late, but they're going to miss out on a lot of wealth that they could have had by simply taking a little bit of time, opening the mind up a little bit, taking a little bit of time, trying to learn this thing. And even if they don't understand it right now, just buying some, getting some exposure to this thing. And that's kind of what I want to end the show with today, is that with all this happening here, it's pretty clear that Bitcoin's not going away. It's pretty clear that because of the supply and demand nature and the market aspect of Bitcoin, the value and the price of Bitcoin will continue to go up. It's not a secret. It's not a prediction. It's just what's happening right now. So with that, because that's happening, because all of these big institutions, these countries are getting into Bitcoin, they're going to want to control it. They're going to do everything that they can to try to control Bitcoin. They can't stop it. They're going to try to control it. And so that's why the title of the show is Come and Get It. Because I really want you to understand the fact that if you do things right here in Bitcoin, if you take the time and you learn about Bitcoin and you buy Bitcoin, you earn some Bitcoin, and you learn how to store that Bitcoin properly, there's nothing that they can do to take that Bitcoin from you. Once you get to that point of understanding within Bitcoin that there's nothing that they can do other than kill you. And even then, if you got the 12 words in your head, there's nothing they can do about it. So once you get to that level of understanding of Bitcoin, it changes everything. And that's what I want you to work towards here in terms of your Bitcoin journey. So I got 5 things here for people. And this is for people who aren't into Bitcoin yet and for people who are into Bitcoin right now. So the first step of action, I like doing these actionable steps because I think that that's the actual valuable part of these shows. I mean, I can talk about Bitcoin till I'm blue in the face, but if you're actually don't have any sort of roadmap or plan in place, then you're just going to keep, filtering information in here and being excited about Bitcoin. But then when the time comes and they show up at your house and try to take your Bitcoin, you're not going to be in a good spot. So this is my steps for everybody here. Number 1, buy/earn Bitcoin. Get as much Bitcoin as you possibly can. And that includes Bitcoin, physical Bitcoin or actual Bitcoin in self-custody, and the ETF. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of BlackRock. I don't love what's happening there with the central, where they're trying to control Bitcoin and what's going to come from that possibly. But if you're somebody who does have a bunch of your capital, your life savings in the old system, without having to jump through 100 hoops, because if you're going to try to take that out, you're going to pay tax, you're going to pay fees. It's going to be a nightmare to try to convert that into Bitcoin. And for most people, that's way too daunting for them. So start with the ETF and make sure that you get it into a TFSA or some sort of tax-free savings account that you can use, whether that's in US, Canada. I don't know what the US equivalent is for that. But get some Bitcoin in self-custody, whatever you have, like in terms of cash flow that you've already paid taxes on that's out of the old system, buy Bitcoin with that, self-custody. Any money in the old system tied up in the S&P, in bonds, in your pension, buy the Bitcoin ETF with that. The second one here is that if you are somebody who just bought Bitcoin for the first time, let's say you got $10,000 in a GIC savings account right now, you buy some Bitcoin. The one thing I would say is that don't overwhelm yourself. Start, if you have a small, let's say you got $1,000, just start with the Moon wallet. Buy some Bitcoin on the exchange, send it to the Moon wallet, leave it there for a little while. If you have a larger amount, say $10,000, buy the Bitcoin and send it to, get a BitKey. That's what I'm going to recommend for people who are just getting into Bitcoin right now and aren't very familiar with the whole self-custody model yet and how to store your keys. I would use the BitKey. So that's one of Block's products, actually. It's a new Bitcoin device where essentially you hold one of the keys and there's 2 other companies that hold one other key. And it's basically impossible for you to lose your Bitcoin. So, that's something that if you are somebody who has like a brother, parents, friend, girlfriend who wants to get into Bitcoin, but they're scared that they're going to lose it, tell them to get the BitKey or buy them a BitKey. I think it's very inexpensive, and it's a very good way to take custody of your Bitcoin without the risk of losing it. So how to store it? If you got something small, just use a Moon wallet. Don't overcomplicate things. Start slow, start small. And if you have a larger balance, get a BitKey. BITKEY, BitKey. And then as time goes by, number 3 is get yourself a cold card. I wouldn't say get it right off the bat because it is fairly complicated if you're somebody who's not really familiar with Bitcoin, how everything works. Just wait on that. But I would still order one today because we have no idea what's going to happen this next year or two in terms of countries clamping down on imports in terms of hardware, Bitcoin hardware devices. So get a cold card. Don't set it up yet. Don't put any Bitcoin on it yet, but just get a cold card. And then the 4th one there is as time goes by, start cashing out some of your ETF proceeds. So let's say you have a bunch of money in the S&P right now, and you move that into the Bitcoin ETF. We see the price go up in the next 12 months. If you put it into the right vehicle, like a TFSA, you don't pay any tax on those gains when you sell it. And then you just start buying Bitcoin with those proceeds slowly over time. Don't do it all at once. Don't overwhelm yourself. Don't create too big of a mountain there, but just slowly start cashing some of those ETFs. Maybe it's $1,000 a month, and start buying Bitcoin with that. And then once you have a sizable balance, that's when, and you've hopefully along the way here, this might be over a year, this might be over 2 years, but you've started to learn some of the best practices within Bitcoin. So that's when you move it to your cold card. You get your cold card set up and you move your Bitcoin to there. From your Moon wallet, from your BitKey into your cold card. And then the 5th step there, and I think this is going to be a lot of applicable to everybody here. Kind of those first couple steps were for people who are newer into Bitcoin. But this last one is learn how to take true self-custody of your Bitcoin. And whatever that looks like to you, I want you to set yourself up in a way where regardless of what happened, you still have your Bitcoin. Go through every different scenario of what could happen to you and put a countermeasure there and start doing it. And it'll be same kind of thing. It'll be a progression. And the final step to that is having some part of your Bitcoin stack, whether that's 10, 15, 20% of your Bitcoin in your head. And I know that sounds scary to a lot of people. It sounds scary to me even, but that's what you want to get to. You don't want to do that tomorrow. You don't want to buy a bunch of Bitcoin, set it up on a cold card, memorize your 20 or your 12 words, your 24 words, and then just, you're going to be good. You're never going to forget it. But over the next couple of years, start taking steps to get to that point. And if you are somebody who's been here for a while now, you're much more advanced, you're in a very good spot, and you should be accelerating that. Obviously, don't put 100% of your Bitcoin into your head, but make sure that that's your end goal here, is you want to take self-custody of your Bitcoin, not on the ETFs, not on exchanges, not in, custodial wallets, but take self-custody yourself and take a portion of that and memorize the 12 words or 24 words. You could also, don't rely 100% on that. Memorize the 12 words, maybe hide some in the bush somewhere or whatever it looks like to you. But that's kind of the progression that I would go through here, from getting Bitcoin to actually taking true self-custody of your Bitcoin. Because like I said, if you have true self-custody of your Bitcoin, nobody can take it from you. And that's why I titled the show today, Come and Get It. Because even if they know you have Bitcoin, if you do it properly and you get to that final point there's nothing that they can do about it. So come and get it. Carl said that's the Shapeshift guy. I don't know what Shapeshift is, but it does say Eric is the Shapeshift guy on here as well. What is Shapeshift? Palm says, this is what I'm saying. If these privileged people who are living in advanced countries try to live in a black or gray listed, fuck around and what's FATF? FATF, what does that mean? I was thinking FAFO, fuck around and find out. said the F word a lot on the show. I apologize for that. Hopefully you're not listening with small kids. But what is FATF? I should know that, maybe. Oops. But anyways, he says, I guarantee they will value borderless form of money. Exactly. People in privileged countries like Canada, like the US, they don't see the, oh, there you go. Financial Action Task Force. Gotcha. So that must be like a IMF type deal where they're pretending to be the good guys, but they're really just exploiting all the resources in those countries. Yeah. It's important. And not only for, I'll end the show with this, because I really want you to, I was going to say put a focus on trying to get people to understand what's happening here, but you know what? Honestly, focus on yourself. Focus on yourself. Make sure that you have as much Bitcoin as you can. Start taking steps towards earning Bitcoin. And then in that progression there, get to the end of that where you have some Bitcoin in your head that nobody can take from you. That's the number one priority right now. But what I was talking about there is I was talking to a lady on the weekend, and I was talking about Bitcoin. She had no idea what it was. None. She thought it was physical because everybody sees the physical coins there, the pictures of the Bitcoin. So she thought that Bitcoin was physical. But it got to the point where we were talking about different things. She obviously can feel something that's wrong. They talk about the protests all day long on the news. The world's very dark right now, and people are starting to be open to an alternative. 4 years ago, if I would have had this conversation with her about Bitcoin, she would have looked at me like I had three heads. But today, based on where we are right now, she was very open to it. And even though she didn't understand what it was, how it all works, the one thing I think that she really understood, I said, if Canada continues to go down this road and things just get worse and worse and worse, and things cost more and more and more, and all of a sudden you want to leave the country, let's say you're somebody who is worried about the government, so you're holding cash under your mattress there. I said, if things got bad enough and you had to leave Canada, what would you do with that money that's under your mattress? What would you do with that? And I could see her thinking about it. And I said, you won't be able to go deposit it into the bank. They won't let you do that, depending on the amount of it, obviously. But you can't go put that into the bank. That's not what it's there for. You can't bring it onto the airplane. So if you wanted to flee Canada and go somewhere else, what would you do with that cash? You can't buy something and take it on the plane with you. What do you do with that cash? And so she got it. And I said, with Bitcoin, if you start building up a Bitcoin balance kind of as your doomsday, and you put it in your head, that's like if things go completely wrong and you need to leave the country, you have those 12 words, you hop on an airplane, you land, you download a Bitcoin wallet, you import those 12 words into that wallet, and all of a sudden you have all the wealth that you had before. And so that's part of it, right? Is the countries like that. We don't really think about that kind of stuff because we've never faced those challenges before, but we are now. And people are starting to understand it slowly. So that's the show for today, folks. Now we're jumping over to zap.stream. Oh, I want to end with one thing here because, like I said, we're going to start. Sorry, I forgot to say good morning to Adam. Adam's been putting out some great videos on YouTube. He's doing, it's kind of, I think it's called Sweating and Smiling Together. Love the logo you got there, Adam, by the way, or your thumbnail for it. But check him out on YouTube. Him and his wife are, I think his wife has an ankle injury or a knee injury, one of the two, and she's working through some recovery there. So very good channel, very good information there, stretching, working out, all that kind of stuff. Check out Adam's channel. It's called Sweating and Smiling Together, if I'm not mistaken. So basically what we're going to be doing here, and I said I was going to keep the show short today, but we had a lot to catch up on. We were gone for 5 or 6 days. But what's going to happen here for the future is these daily shows are going to be shorter. And after every show, I'm either going to be doing the Living in the Future show, kind of just like a follow-up, deeper dive into things, or the golf show that I'm doing now, which is called Touch Grass. I thought that was a really good name for somebody gave it to me on Nostr actually, but a really good way to talk about what we're doing here, because kind of the point of the golf show is going to be similar to what we're doing here with the Bitcoin stuff. I want to take that same kind of concept and apply it to golf. And so kind of the focus there is going to be, what did I call it? Practical and enjoyable ways to play better golf. So similar to the Bitcoin journey is actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and future Bitcoiners. The Touch Grass series that we're going to be doing here is going to be practical and enjoyable ways to enjoy or be, I don't know. I fucked it up there. I got it right the first time. Practical and enjoyable ways to play better golf. There you go. There you go. Letha says, love your channel, Adam. Great to see. So with that though, the one thing I did want to say is that I'm going to be introducing a new tier on the Patreon because we filled up our Living in the Future tier. But the one thing I'm going to start doing here, because I have a couple ideas in my head on pushing the Bitcoin education forward here a little bit. And I want the people within this group to be part of that. So they don't really know it yet, but I got a few things in my head that I'm talking about or thinking about right now. So what I'm going to do here is with the Living in the Future, I'm going to be putting a lot more focus on that. A couple times a week after the show, we're going to jump over there, talk about things. But what I want you to do today is, if you are somebody who's like newer into Bitcoin, wants to have like a community there, have some people help you through whatever issues you're going through, I want you to consider joining the Living in the Future tier. And so I'm going to start every time somebody joins, I'm going to send them a questionnaire. And it's going to be, what kind of things are you looking to learn? What kind of skills do you have? Because I really want to start putting a few different things in place here in terms of the Living in the Future crew. And so if you are somebody who wants to learn about Bitcoin, become a better Bitcoiner, and start earning Bitcoin, if you want to be part of something, because there's some things being built within that community there. And I think that if you sign up and you have these skills, we'll kind of have like a shared spreadsheet, I think, that we're going to do. And so people can go in there, they can get these different ideas, they can find people for their specific roles and start building businesses in Bitcoin with Bitcoiners. So you sign up, you're looking to learn more about Bitcoin, you want to start earning Bitcoin. I want you to just sign up there. And it's not quite set up yet, but there will still be weekly shows, which is part of the membership there. But the other part of that is I want to start getting everybody together and complementing each other and pushing this whole thing forward. So I do have some things in my head. I want you to consider that if you've been enjoying the show, if you want to support the show and see the second part of the show going forward here. So that's kind of the idea there. But I'll leave it with that. So if you're a golfer or you're just bored and you want to continue this discussion, it's going to be just a fun. It's not going to be any sort of similar to like this show where I don't do any sort of technical analysis stuff on Bitcoin. The golf show is going to be more like mental stuff, mindset stuff. So even if you don't golf, maybe you will one day, but you can apply these things probably to every aspect of your life. So with that, hope you have a great Monday. Great start to the week. Consider joining the Living in the Future tier if you do want to further your Bitcoin education, become a better Bitcoiner, and be part of a network there that's building businesses in Bitcoin. So have yourselves a great day, and we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning. And hop over to zap.stream if you're a golfer. We'll see you there. Bye-bye.